Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. Terry Tucker is living a life of purpose and passion. His book, Sustainable Excellence, 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life, is a compilation of lessons learned that can benefit all of us. Terry's been an NCAA basketball player, a marketing and healthcare exec, and a hostage negotiator. Most of all, he's living his own uncommon and extraordinary life. So, Terry, welcome to Bump in the Road. One of the things that you write in your book is that you were born to live, not you, but we were all born to live in an uncommon and extraordinary life. What makes a life extraordinary?
To me, an extraordinary life is to find the purpose, the reason that you were put on this earth, and then to live it. And I've had jobs, you probably have too, that and again, I don't want people to think that their purpose has to be their job. It doesn't. I mean, you could have a job that this is how you pay the bills, but your purpose is to be a writer or to be an artist or a musician, whatever it is. So I think whatever that purpose is, whatever you were put on this earth to do, if you find that purpose and you live it, it just brings you peace in your heart, but it also brings you excitement and resiliency, and I can't wait to get up and go do this thing that I was born to do. And I think so many people never get there because they never even start to look for the reason that they were born.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the large majority of people live complacent lives. And I think they're missing the point because there's so many interesting, wonderful things out there. But in order to experience that, you have to put yourself at risk.
You do, and I agree with you. I think a lot of people live a casual life, and because of that, their dreams, their goals, their ambitions become a casualty of sort of that unplanned living. And when that's the case and you get to the end of your life, you kind of look back on it. And I always tell, especially young people, that if you have a passion, if there's something in your heart that you want to do and it scares you, go ahead and do it. Because at the end of your life, the things you're going to regret are not going to be the things you did. They're going to be the things you didn't do. And by that time, it's going to be too late to go back and do them.
No, I totally agree. And I think that if we don't pursue our passions when we're young, they circle back in our lives in strange ways, and they keep demanding attention until we pay attention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's a reason. I don't think. I know. I feel in my heart, in my soul, that there's a reason we were all put on this earth. And if we can find that reason and live it, at least for me, because I feel I've done that. I've found that passion and I live my passion. And now that I'm coming to the end of my life, death or whatever on the other side of this doesn't provide that kind of, oh my God, I'm going to die, that fear. It's almost, and this is going to sound really weird, it's almost an excitement of what's next? Where do we go from here? What's on the other side of what we call life?
I'm with you. I find it extraordinarily fascinating. And I've interviewed several people with near-death experiences. And I find those experiences fascinating and often compelling.
Yeah, I mean, I've never talked to anybody, but I've certainly seen interviews with people. And it always seems to be positive. And we're so afraid of what's next. But if you believe these people that have had these experiences, what's next seems to be very calming, very peaceful, very loving, very good. Why the heck wouldn't you want that? I mean, why wouldn't you want to experience that as opposed to some of the stuff that we're having to deal with today?
Yeah, I want to go back to the point you made about passion in life. What are some of the most extraordinary aspects of your life? Where did you really meet your passion?
Yeah, it's funny because I sort of have to back up a little bit. So my grandfather was a Chicago police officer from 1924 to 1954. And so he was in Chicago during the height of Prohibition, the Depression, the gangs that were going on with Al Capone and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really know him. He died when I was like 6 or 7, but he was shot in the line of duty with his own gun. It was not a life threatening injury. He was shot in the ankle. But my dad always remembered the stories my grandmother told about the knock on the door and Mrs. Tucker, grab your son, your husband's been shot, come with us. And so when I had this passion to go into law enforcement, my dad was like, absolutely not. You're going to go to college, you're going to major in business, you're going to go into business, you're going to, get married, have 2.4 kids, live in a nice house. I mean, my dad had my entire life planned out for me, but that was the life he wanted me to live, not the life that I felt I was born to live. But when I graduated from college, he was sick. He had cancer. And so I did what I guess every good son did, because I know my dad didn't have these plans for me because it was something negative. He loved me and he wanted what he thought was best for me. So I pursued business. My first job out of college was in the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain, in their marketing department. And then I was a healthcare administrator for a number of years. But those weren't my passion. Those were safe jobs that I could do to make money while I was helping my mom take care of my dad and my grandfather, who were both dying of different forms of cancer. So I became a rookie police officer, and I still to this day believe that was my purpose, why I was put on here at 37 years old, which is pretty old to start that kind of a career that is as physically demanding as that is. So that was really my passion at that point in time. And I think my passion now, with whatever time I have left on my cancer journey, is to put as much goodness, as much positivity, as much love back into the world as I can.
Your book does that, and you bring up 4 points in your book. Let's talk about those a little bit. The first one is control your mind or it will control you.
Yeah, that's something I learned early in life. So when I was in high school, I had 3 knee surgeries, and I was a very good basketball player, good enough to, even with 3 knee surgeries, play Division I college basketball. But when I had the first 2 surgeries were pre-arthroscopic, so arthroscopic surgery is not available. So I have the kind of long zipper scar on the outside of my knee. But I remember my brain, my mind, kind of being like, yeah, 3 knee surgeries. Yeah, you're probably going to be a step slower, and college coaches aren't going to want to recruit you. So there was all this kind of negative garbage going on in my brain. And I learned very early, I was probably 15 years old. And in all honesty, the only success I'd really had in life at that point was basketball. And I wasn't willing to give that up. So I had to change that narrative. I had to flip that to say, no, I'm still playing at an elite level, and coaches are still contacting me about their interest in having me come play for them in college. So we all kind of get into that. Our brains are hardwired to avoid pain and discomfort and to seek pleasure. So the status quo is good to the brain. You start playing with the status quo, the brain's going to put off. I mean, it'd be like, if you got up this morning and said, I'm going to go skydiving. I mean, your brain would be like, oh, no, wait a minute there, Pat. The plane might crash, or your parachute may not open. All those things are going to start to play. And so you need to change that narrative. You'll be like, no, this is something I want to do. I'm passionate about it. I'm going to go ahead and do it. So that's kind of where I learned that you need to control your mind. You need to get rid of that negative stuff that's in there, flip the switch, and come up with something positive, because your mind can only hold one thought at a time. Why would you make that a negative thought?
That's a good point. Why would you make it a negative thought? But flipping it to a positive thought is not always that easy.
No, none of this stuff is easy. It's not necessarily easy, but it's something that if you do it, I think part of it is realizing that it's happening. Part of it is sort of listening to, what do you mean I'm a step slower? Where did that come from? And then saying, no, I'm not a step slower. I'm still playing at an elite level, or, I can still get into medical school, or I can, whatever it is, whatever your passion is, whatever it is, wherever you want to step outside your comfort zones, because in your comfort zones, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get better. You got to step outside that comfort zone. And when you do that, that's when your brain starts putting all that stuff and all that garbage into your head. And you need to listen to it, and then you need to flip the switch on something different. It's not easy, but the more you do it, the more cognizant you'll be of that negative energy, and you'll be able to flip that switch and say, no, this is positive. I'm going in this direction.
The more you live in that zone of discomfort, do you think it gets easier?
Oh, yeah. I know it does, because I've lived in it. I mean, I've had so much pain in terms of my cancer journey, from, having my foot amputated to having my leg amputated to being on a drug that gave me flu-like symptoms for 2 to 3 days every week. And I took that drug for 5 years. So imagine having the flu every week for 5 years. I know the more pain you get, the more you can handle. And that's the other thing I know. We can handle so much more than we ever give ourselves credit for. That the body, the physical body, can handle so much more. When we think we're done, we're like at 40%. There's a Navy SEAL who wrote a book, and he talks about the 40% rule, where if you think you're done, you think you're at the end of your rope. I mean, for the SEALs, it may be running or push-ups or something like that. I can't do another one. You're only at 40% of your maximum. You still have another 60% left inside you to use, to move forward, to move beyond that. And when you do, then you realize, well, yeah, I thought this was my, stopping point. No, you can move forward. You can keep going. It's amazing what the body can do.
What are the lessons in going forward under those circumstances?
I think confidence. I think you develop strength. You develop confidence. You develop an ability to realize that, hey, I can do so much more than I ever thought I could do. That the limits that were put on me by me, not by somebody else, by me. And why would it, if you believe the 40% rule, if you say that, that's a valid rule, and I agree with that, and I do, then why would you put that? Why would my limit be here when I've got so much more out here that I could still do? So why would I put that limit on me? So I think you gain confidence, you gain trust in yourself, which a lot of people don't have. They don't buy that everything they need to succeed in life is already inside them. They just got to find it and pull it out.
And take some chances.
Yeah. Yeah. Because exactly, if you're in your comfort zones, you're not taking any chances. You move outside your comfort zones, you take those chances. Man, can you imagine what might happen? Instead of, oh my gosh, if this happens, then I might fail. People might laugh at me. Who cares? Who cares what people think? You're never going to be judged at the end of your life on what other people said or did. It's all about what you did. What did you do? So the heck with what all these naysayers say. Just move forward.
Well, and I think once you enter that zone of discomfort, it opens up the realm of possibility.
It does. It certainly does. I mean, if you, I can equate a lot of things to basketball. You try to do a move. Oh, it didn't work. Try it again. Try it again. Try it again. I remember Kobe Bryant, who recently passed away in a helicopter accident, played basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. I remember hearing a story about him one day that he went up for a shot in a game and somebody hit him on the elbow and the shot missed and they lost the game. And he was so upset about that after the game, he grabbed a manager, went into their practice gymnasium, and put up like 10,000 shots. And every shot that he put up, he had the manager hit him in the arm. Hit me in the arm. Hit me in the arm. Hit me in the arm. I am going to overcome this so that the next time this happens, I'll be ready. I'm going to use another sports quote. Jerry Rice, who played for the San Francisco 49ers, used to say, "Today I will do what others won't so that tomorrow I can do what others can't." And I think that's a perfect example illustrated by Kobe Bryant of, I got hit in the arm, I missed a shot. That's not going to happen again.
I think that kind of perseverance and resilience is a key characteristic of people who push the envelope because they always hit setbacks and they choose to push through them.
And they do. And they accept failure as part of learning. It's not an end game. It's just part of learning. I failed. That's okay. What did I learn? I learned this. Okay, can I move forward now? Yes, I can move forward. Oh, I failed again. Okay, what did I learn? Okay, now I can move forward again and stuff like that. I totally agree. I mean, if you don't push the envelope, you'll have no idea how great you can be, how amazing you can be. Because again, you're setting those limits. I don't want to put, this is as good as I can get. I can't get any further. Well, push that envelope a little more and see what happens.
And see what you learn.
Exactly.
I've come to see life as a road trip. So I like to look at what can I learn? What's in this situation? What do I need to gain in terms of wisdom to move forward?
Yeah. And I think you figured that out. And most people don't. Most people never think about that. They just feel, I'm comfortable. So comfort is good. So why would I go outside my comfort zones? Why, and to me, it's like, because that's where you're supposed to grow. That's where you're supposed to grow. Actually, I was going to say that's where you're supposed to go, but really that's where you're supposed to grow. That's how you're going to grow. And sitting in your comfort zones, you're not going to grow. And if you're not growing, then you're dying.
Oh boy, we are on the same page there. If you would tell everybody a little bit about your cancer journey, because it's been really quite remarkable.
So 2012, I was a girls' high school basketball coach in Texas, and I had a callus break open on the bottom of my left foot right below my third toe. And originally, I didn't think much of it because I was a coach and I was on my feet a lot. But after a couple of weeks of it not healing, I went to see a podiatrist, a foot doctor friend of mine. And he took an x-ray and he said, I think you got a cyst in there. I can cut it out. And he did. And he showed it to me. It was just a gelatin sac with some white fat in it. There was no dark spots, no blood, nothing that would indicate there was anything out of the ordinary with the cyst. But he sent it off to pathology anyway. 2 weeks later, I get a call from him. And as I said, he was kind of a friend of mine. The more difficulty he was having explaining or describing what was going on, the more frightened I was becoming. And so finally, he just laid it out for me. He said, Terry, I've been a doctor for 25 years. I have never seen this form of cancer. And you should go to MD Anderson in Houston to be treated. I did go to MD Anderson. I had a tumor cut out in my foot. I had all the lymph nodes in my groin removed as well. And when I healed, I was put on that weekly injection of interferon that gave me the flu-like symptoms. I took interferon for 5 years until it became so toxic to my body that I ended up in the intensive care unit with a fever of 108 degrees, which usually is not compatible with being alive, but was at a great hospital and they were able to save me. Soon as the interferon was stopped, 2017, the disease came back. 2018, had my left foot amputated. Disease came back in 2019, 2 more surgeries on my shin. And then last year, 2020, I had an undiagnosed tumor in my ankle that grew large enough that it fractured my tibia, my shin bone. And further testing found that pretty much my entire lower leg was full of cancer. So right during the pandemic, April of 2020, I had my left leg amputated above the knee. The only surgery that day, my wife literally had to drop me off at the hospital. And she was like, what do I do? I'm like, just go in the parking lot and pray. I mean, I know you want to be with me. I would love if you could be with me, but we'll get through this. And we did. Had a great doctor who said, you know what, I'm going to do this surgery at a remote hospital, an outlying hospital that does not take COVID patients. And you're only going to be in the hospital for 48 hours, whereas I probably should have been in for a week with therapy and things like that. And then when I got out, more testing found that I had tumors in my lungs. And so I am on a clinical trial drug now to try to help with those tumors. They are helping. The drug is helping with the tumors. They have shrunk about 30%, but my doctor's not talking about a cure. He's talking more about buying me some more time, which the way I look at it is if it helps me, that's great. But if the doctors can learn something from this experience, if they can learn something from all the blood they take and all the testing they do, that maybe 10 years from now they can come up with a drug that'll help somebody else. That's part of being bigger, being part of something that's bigger than yourself. And for me, that makes me feel good. Even if this doesn't save my life, but 10 years from now or 20 years from now, I can save somebody else's life, I'm good with that.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life. You can subscribe to our free podcast at www.bumpintheroad.us or become a premium member to hear the full conversation. Just go to www.bumpintheroad.us for more information and to sign up.